They're coming! They're coming! They're coming! They're here! Hey, it's that time of year here in the South where we get to harvest wild crops on our farm. I had no idea when we got here, but we actually have wild garlic. Now, I used to call it wild onion until I learned there's a difference between the two. First of all, let me show you what they look like when they're in the ground. Let's go check it out. So this is what your wild garlic and wild onion looks the same, will look like coming up from the ground. There are copycats, like with a lot of things, but the best way to tell if you have wild onion or wild garlic is to just break off a piece, and it smells a little oniony. The copycats don't smell like anything at all. So this is some of the wild garlic that I cut, and when you use the tops, it gets a little hard down here, so you use the tops and use it like chives. It's very, very mild. As a matter of fact, Gigi and I had baked potatoes last night, and I chopped a whole bunch of this and put it on top of the baked potato, and it was delicious. I'll tell you some other things I do with it, but let me show you how you tell a wild garlic from wild onions. When you pull that top out, do you see that tube? Looks like a straw. All right, that's wild garlic. Wild onions are a flat leaf, no little hole in the middle like a straw. So that's how you tell the difference. Remember, always give a whiff, not just because it smells good, but because you want to make sure it is wild garlic or wild onions. So if you have freeze-dried sour cream like we do, we also have freeze-dried peanut butter, but you don't want to put garlic in that. A great thing to make is a topping, like you would put on sour cream and onion potato chips. You can make homemade potatoes, homemade fries. It's delicious on popcorn. So you just take some of that freeze-dried sour cream powder that you have, you dehydrate your wild garlic. Now I would dehydrate it in large pieces. You don't want to chop it, it's going to get really small. So you dehydrate it in larger pieces, and then you crumble it and you put it in that dehydrated sour cream. I'm going to tell you a secret. I add a little pinch of citric acid, gives it a kick. Try it. It is a delicious powder. I gave it for Christmas presents one year. People loved it. So that's one of the other crazy kinds of things you can do with these. But really, you can throw them into a salad. You can use them like you would any other kind of a chive. But I don't have to take up room in the garden growing them because we've got 60 acres of this stuff. So here's how I like to clean them. I'll give them a wash off in the sink. Now keep in mind, if you spray pesticides, do not use these because you're really not going to get those pesticides off. Especially if you spray the pesticides before they come up, because, you know, they're going to drink them in. So if you use pesticides on your lawn or your garden area, I wouldn't eat these. There's a problem we had in Wisconsin. We had tons of dandelions, and I wanted to use them to make oils and dandelion wine. But we lived in subsidy farm country, and they had overhead planes spraying pesticides, so I wouldn't use them. As a matter of fact, I did raised bed gardening, and I covered my raised beds. So give them a wash off, and then I don't even bother to trim them up right away. I just roll them in paper towel to keep it moist. Just roll them up in this and pop them in the fridge. And then when I go to use them, I just take a few out and chop them up and put them in a salad or whatever you choose. It's that easy. So if you don't have wild garlic, can you grow it? You can. Find somebody who might have it, and you can grow it from seed, which would be the typical way you would grow anything from seed. Probably best to start it indoors. But when you plant it, it's a little bit different. You don't want little soldier rows. You actually want to put them in a clump. They do better together. They're like sheep. They like to be in a flock. You can also sow the seeds directly into your raised bed or ground area where you're going to have your wild garlic April through June. But remember, put them in a clump, don't put them in a row. Another way to go ahead and grow wild garlic is to know somebody who has some bulbs. Have them dig a few up for you. Certainly digging up some bulbs and spreading the wealth is a good thing to do. Just pop them into your raised bed or your garden area, wherever you're going to grow them. Put in some of your garden soil. Now, ours are growing throughout our 60 acres. I'm not doing a thing to them, my favorite kind of plant. And we don't have the best soil. We're working on that. But I will tell you, in the areas where it is strictly clay here, there are no wild garlic plants growing. They don't mind full sun. And they don't even mind partial shade. So if you have wild garlic like we do, really think about using it. But remember, smell it first. It needs to smell like onion. Otherwise, don't use it. If you end up growing or you have wild garlic and you've used it before, leave a comment below on what you've used it in and how did it grow for you. This is Nikki D from 5 Dog Farm. I hope you have a good time with your wild garlic. I'll talk to you soon. I could probably listen to the sound of the wind coming through the trees all day long. I think that's one of my favorite sounds on the farm, is just hearing the wind coming closer and closer. What a beautiful day, and we're so close to spring. I'm so excited.